email was about choice, so we have to touch upon that.
Yeah, the school committee hasn't voted yet, but I'm sure we're going to be offering choice seats this coming school year.
Yeah, I would
It looks
figure
like the middle school class size is smaller than it's
yeah,
been.
that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it a few more minutes. Obviously, it's still before 6 o'clock.
I have a question that about the for the public schools. My daughter's in the high school now. Is it starting December 21st? Was that the correct date?
For the
in the email that the superintendent sent out
yeah,
yesterday?
only for the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
Okay.
I think
All
when
right.
he was meeting
Thank
with
you.
all the health advisors from Newburyport and the Board of Health, they decided that that would provide a good 2-week window where it was already a half week.
Okay, I understand now. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so the plan is still to come back with our plan as it is right now at the end of the break. All right, here we go. Now we're getting more people to jump in. We'll just give it a minute and then we'll get started.
Mike will be jumping right on. Mr. Testa. Yes,
Okay. Let's give it 1 minute just in case, and then we will get started. All right, just so everybody is aware, we are going to be recording the presentation tonight. So obviously for other parents or families that were not able to make it work for tonight, that they'll have this available to view. So as long as you're comfortable with your videos on, feel free to leave them on. If you're not comfortable, you can shut them down. But I am going to be sharing my screen because we do have a presentation to go over. The presentation is going to be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then obviously we will have time for some questions from all of you. So just to introduce ourselves, so I am Andrew Wolf. I am the principal of Newburyport High School. I'm in the middle of my 3rd year here as principal, and then we'll go around administratively to introduce ourselves. Mike?
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Testa, and I am the associate principal at the high school.
And Miss Blackstock?
Hi, I'm Trisha Blackstock. I'm the Director of Guidance and Counseling at the high school. Nice to meet you all.
And Tara?
Hello, I'm Tara Ellis. I'm the team chair, coordinator for special education, filling in for Gina Gardino this year. Welcome.
And Mr. Hodgson? Oh, Kyle, you're on mute.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kyle Hodgson, athletic director at both the high school and the NOC.
All right, so I'm gonna switch over here so I can share my screen. We are gonna be switching around a little bit. So because we were waiting on the governor's announcement this week with how things were gonna go with his rollback, Kyle had a meeting set up for earlier this week with all of the winter athletes, but we had to push that to today. So he's going to need to jump out a little bit early, but we'll have him give his presentation out of sequence. So just give me a minute here to share my screen. Okay. Okay. And hopefully everyone can see that. Is that a yes?
Yeah, can you put it in presentation mode?
Yeah, yes, I am going to.
Hey.
Slideshow. All right, well, here we go. Well, thank you everybody for participating in the presentation. Typically what we do in December is we do a pretty large showcase where we open up the building, we have our students here, we have our teachers, and we're able to get everybody into classrooms, tours of the building, and really just to kind of feel what Newburyport High School is all about and to be able to ask questions. And the reality is I think our students really sell the high school. You know, we're doing a lot of work here around student voice, and really you can see here from really our whole idea of what we're trying to do is just really work to foster that sustained passion for learning. Where in the classroom, it's about asking questions and really working to foster that growth mindset as a priority with all of the curriculum work that we've been taking on over the past few years. And so this gives you an idea of really what we're driving towards as we kind of figure out all of the different programs that we work to bring into the high school, is that we want our graduates, so when they're walking the stage at graduation and shaking the hand of the mayor, that they are equipped and ready to use their education to find solutions to complex problems. As I said earlier, they have that passion to inquire, and then really just take and use the independent skills that they're going to develop in their 4 years of high school to create a better place for everybody. And that is really the crux of how teachers go about planning their lessons. And it really drives our team to really think through, all right, what programs do we just need to continue to grow and foster here at Newburyport High School so that our graduates can continue to meet really our vision for them. And over the past few years, we've done a lot of work around a vision of a high school graduate. And you saw in the prior slide that there's just really an emphasis on skills, and that our teachers, their objective is really using content to teach and coach skills for students. So 3 years ago, our teachers engaged in a process where they identified, all right, what are essential skills that students need to have in order to navigate the complexities of the 21st century world. And so this is where we landed. And then we've also engaged the students as well in the process, and parents, in terms of really working to identify what are the essential core skills that we really want to focus on in the classroom and in all the programs that we offer. And so this gives you an idea of our primary focus with the students. And then with that has come, so over the past couple of years, with that vision in place, you know, we've really worked to expand our offerings that we provide here. Just last year, we were able to hire an additional technology teacher that has more of a computer science background, so that we are able to have now in the tech area a manufacturing focus for students and also a computer science focus for students. We also offer 14 advanced placement courses with 2 in the visual arts, so that there's really a variety. So based off of student interest in terms of where they want to challenge themselves. And then Tricia Blackstock, along with the Student Support Office, has really done a lot of work to build partnerships with different colleges in the area, from Southern New Hampshire University to Endicott College and Northern Essex Community College, where we offer a pretty robust dual enrollment program, which is students taking a college level class while they're in high school and receiving high school credit as well as college credit. And last year, we had our first student who earned an associate's degree alongside her high school diploma. So there's been a lot of exciting things happening there, and really kind of our mindset is as students, and Tricia is going to talk a little bit about this, as students map out their course selection over their 4 years, really working to create flexibility into their junior and senior year. So they're really able to explore their interests and passions, but then at the same time, connect them to careers. So careers of interest, and working to get internships in their senior year. And then one thing that Ms. Blackstock will also be going over is how we've been able to take our program of studies and really organize it into pathways that offer parents and students guidance on, all right, how does this class, feed in and prepare me for this next level of class? But what are the different careers that this type of academic area may lead me towards? So really getting students to think about, their life after high school, but in a more, just really an exploratory way is the idea that we have. And so these are this is just a sample of the pathways that we have, just so you have an understanding that when you are deciding on the course selection process, just helping to make decisions. And so we just wanted to give you a flavor of our thinking here at Newburyport High School, and really helping students to connect what they're doing in the classroom to things that they are interested in potentially pursuing, or discovering as they're doing it that they're not interested, so that they're going into their life after high school with a better focus as well. And that's really our primary goal. And what we've found is that when students are able to make a connection to life outside of school, their engagement is so much greater. And that's really what we've seen over the past few years. Now, before I hand this over to Miss Blackstock, we're actually going to jump down a few screens so we can have Kyle talk about our athletics program. Oh, here we go, Mr. Hodgson.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Welcome everyone again. Some of you may be joining us at 6:30 if your daughter is playing on the 8th grade JV2 basketball team at the high school, so I'll see you at that point as well. But welcome. As you can see here, we take a lot of pride in our athletic program here at the high school. We have a high percentage rate. That's increased almost 20% in the last 6 years. So we have, the good majority of our students participate on an athletic team in addition to other extracurricular activity offerings here. So we have 52 total teams in 24 sports, and we are one of the few Cape Ann League schools that has freshman teams. We call it JV2. Instead of, we have a varsity, a JV1 and a JV2 team. We have that in most of our sports. So what that means is there's more opportunities for the younger players, the freshmen, to participate right away. So you can see the number of sports that we have in each season. This year is a little bit different, obviously, but on a traditional or a typical year, this is how it looks. And we have added sports over the last couple of years. In the fall, we've added volleyball, and that we actually have 4 volleyball teams, and the number has just exploded, and that's really been a big hit here. We've added boys and girls ski in the winter. We've added our own girls hockey team in the winter, and we also have a cooperative team with Triton and boys and girls swimming. So, and then the rest have been part of our program for a long time. So we do have a very successful program too, mainly because of the commitment by our athletes and our coaching staff. We're very lucky to have qualified coaches who care about the experience of the student athlete, and that's at all levels. So we encourage participation. We encourage our numbers to increase each year. So those are just some of the things that of our offerings. And if Mr. Wolf, if you can change the slide, please. So just a couple of things. If you go to our athletic website, which is found on the school webpage, or our athletic webpage on the school website, you will find hopefully everything you need to find. Everything from coaches' contacts to schedules to directions to away games. And hopefully, if there's something that's not on there that you'd like to see on there, we can certainly add that. But we hope to answer questions through that website without you having to call us. There's also something else called Mass Scores that you'll find very helpful. And if there's one thing that you do here as a parent of an athlete, is you sign up for that that service, and you'll be notified anytime there's a game change or a game rescheduled. You will get that in real-time notification. So you'll find that to be very helpful with any type of change to our athletic events. So my contact information is on the webpage, and my assistant Kathy Cutter, her information is on there. If you have any questions or concerns about anything with our athletic program, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. And good luck with your meeting tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. And you're going to hear in a little bit from Mike Testa. He's going to talk about student life after Tricia talks a little bit about just how we're organized and how we work to support students, especially in their transition to high school. But one of the things we do emphasize is that students get involved in something. And as Kyle was talking about, we have a lot of sports offerings, but alongside that, we have a lot of different extracurricular activities, which is what Mike will be talking about later on in the presentation. Okay, so Tricia, with our slide about how our students perform.
Right. So, just so for those of you who don't know, if you've never had a student in high school, this is all going to be, I'm going to preface this with anything I talk about, just assume COVID isn't happening anymore, because everything's different with COVID. So our students, if they take an advanced placement course, part of the contract they sign is that they will take the exam at the end of the year. So our students, our average is 3.5 out of 5, which is really good. We have a lot of AP classes where our students really score 4s and 5s. Generally for colleges, in order for them to accept the course as college credit, a 3 is the minimum, but every school is different, so you have to look. So our kids do very well AP wise. SAT, same thing. We have an average of a 575, that's out of 800. And our essay is high at 593, and then 568 math. So those are sort of the last 3 averages. So our students do very well. And we encourage and we want students to take either at some point one of the college dual enrollment courses that we offer, and or try an AP class. There's a couple that are definitely more accessible, like AP Psych, AP Environmental Science, AP Statistics. So we do offer a number of courses that kids can try out and try to earn college credit prior to going to college.
Great.
What's next, Mr. Wolf? Oh, what's next? See, that's funny. So generally about 85% of our kids go off to 4-year colleges. About maybe 10% will go to 2-year colleges, and then the other percentage of students will either go to work, to the military, gap year, all of that kind of stuff. So as part of this presentation, there's a link in that arrow, I believe.
Are you not able to see what I opened up?
No.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So it must only show the presentation.
Right. So you'll see when you get this, we're going to send this, obviously, a copy of this. So you can click on there to see where our students go off to college gap years. And we've had a lot of gap years. We, the student who earned her associate's degree earned that at Northern Essex Community College. And she is now attending UMass Amherst as a junior because she followed sort of their pathway, at Northern Essex to get into UMass Amherst. So she's in as a junior. It's saving her a lot of money, and that's what she wanted to do. And we figured out how to make it work. So it's a really cool program. Right now I have sophomores taking classes at Northern Essex. And so they'll be probably getting their associate's degrees when they finish as well.
And
So you can
one
click
nice
on that
thing-
link.
Yeah, and one nice thing with students, so as Tricia just spoke about with some sophomores now starting to try it out, is really what they're going to wind up doing is creating a lot of flexibility for themselves come their senior year.
Right.
Which is really a primary objective, is that a senior doesn't have a full slate of courses that they're taking, so they can actually get out and go experience, whether it's through an internship, a work experience, or shadowing, just areas that they have an interest in, just to make sure, is this something that I really am potentially going to be passionate about?
Right, and it also opens up for them. So for example, if you take junior year, you take your English Comp 1, right, which is the equivalent of the college, level 1 course, that will count as your junior lit and that, but you only need to do 1 semester to earn the full year of credit at the high school. So then students will take English Comp 2 as junior 2nd semester, so they have no senior English class. So students will either use that right to explore other courses that maybe they couldn't fit into their schedule before. Because we are a small school, we have a lot of offerings, but some of them are singleton, so they're only offered in one block, say 1 semester, 1 block. Things like bioethics or survival science, or any of we have yoga. It's all kinds of different courses, theater classes, computer classes that maybe they couldn't fit into their schedule, but they really have wanted to try them. So it opens up their schedule a little bit to do that. Also, it opens up their schedule to take more AP classes if they're so inclined. So it just gives them a little more wiggle room in their schedule if they opt to do some college level classes. So our students do very well in the college process. And when you click on that link, you can see where our students get into anywhere from, Ivy League to, Fitchburg State College and everywhere in the country. So there's really a great sort of mix of kids at the high school, and everybody has a sort of different path for when they leave. And we, as a department and, guidance, our job is to meet you and your student where you are in that process. Despite, maybe all of their friends saying, oh, I'm going to go to a 4-year school, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't always work out that way for every student. So we're going to meet people where they are and help them explore those passions and those interests. I wanted to just say one thing about those pathways that you'll see in that students don't need to choose a pathway specifically, but they are guides for the students to look at and say, okay, I think I want to be an accountant. Which classes can I take? And then you will list accountant, and it will say in the math department, if you take these 4 classes, your chances of getting into college for an accounting program are better, kind of a thing. So they're just guides. Some kids are like, I want to try everything. I have no idea what I want to do. Okay, great. Pick something from every pathway. It doesn't matter. We just want them to explore what they like, in addition to the classes they have to take, because there still are those sort of state requirements. So yeah, that's that. I don't know where you are. Oh, okay. So this is how student support works. And within student support, we are going to, Tara Ellis, who is on this call, we will also include her in that. So for me, I have 4 guidance counselors, 3 adjustment counselors, an interventionist, and then we have multiple levels of specialized instruction for students who require that. So every student is assigned a guidance counselor. And really the guidance counselor, I like to say to the kids, if we have orientation in the summer, I'll be so happy because it's such a great time to do orientation prior to school. You'll meet your guidance counselor, and they are your GPS, right? So they're sort of going to help lead the way, right? So you're in your car, or your parents are, and they put into Waze, I want to go to this address, and it says take a right here, take a left here. That's your guidance counselor. You say, I want to get into honors classes next year. How do I get there? And then they'll help you, sort of figure out the conversation with the teacher, all of that stuff, anything that's sort of regular issues within your schedule, within your life, things that you can just run by the guidance counselor. They're going to help you work on your schedule, figure out, that 4-year plan, what does that look like? And then if, say you're a student who requires more intensive type counseling, or you just need time to spend a little more time with an individual, we do have what we call adjustment counselors at the high school. And so they are certified different than guidance counselors. So they would be this, we might, as a guidance counseling or guidance team, say, okay, we need to refer this student to speak with, Miss Fair, Mr. Nesson, Miss Conti. So that's sort of how that works. We have an interventionist who works in what we call the learning lab. And that is like a tier 2, tier 3 support for students who might be struggling with things like executive functioning, or, it's a real sort of referral type program. And so there's certain criteria. So Nicole is also part of our team. And then we have the Learning Center, which is a sub-separate learning classroom, as well as our Gr8 program, which is a bridge program for students coming back from hospitalization. And then Tara, if you want to speak to what a liaison's job is.
Sure. Thanks so much, and welcome everybody. So a liaison is someone who is responsible to work with the student who receives special education services. So they monitor their IEP, they ensure that they're making progress. They're another contact person for that student. They typically will be in some of their classes to provide that support and that continuity. They really work hard here to ensure that they have that opportunity to meet with their liaison very regularly, whether it's in academic support or within classes as well. During that academic support time is often where kids are getting some of their services and supports to address any goals or areas of deficit. And they do a great job with really sort of coordinating all that, and a lot of communication with the teachers through the gen ed as well as the special education department. That's overall what they're doing.
Thank you.
So as needed, and I think really in summary, is we definitely, so alongside of all the work that happens in the classroom, outside of the classroom, there is a lot of support for students. And as needed, we can make the school smaller for any student. And make sure that they feel comfortable, because when students are comfortable, they're better apt to gain what's happening in the classroom.
Correct.
All right, which then brings us to student life, because we have done a lot of work around really working to have a strong school climate and culture. And actually last year, based off of during the MCAS assessment, which all students need to take, they also do a survey just on school climate. And ours came back as one of the top 15 percentile. So that, which was very exciting, but really it's a tribute to the work that our students do to get themselves involved, take risks in trying new things. And Mike's going to give you some insight about what are all the things that students can do beyond the scope of the classroom.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Wolf. And that's a big part of it. It's just, we want the students to get involved in whatever it might be. Mr. Hudson's role is pretty exclusively in athletics, and he mentioned that 72% of students are also student athletes, which is great. But athletics is not for everyone, and that also doesn't maybe connect you as much as you want to be. So a lot of our athletes also do other things. They might be involved in music or theater and other clubs. But so there's a couple of realms that I want to just highlight here, and I'll keep it brief because I think most importantly, we want to leave this open for question and answers. But what's really important to us that students find something that they are interested in, that they can make connections with other students, make friends, get involved, and just pursue things that are interesting to them. Some of those areas are within the realm of clubs and activities. There's been a lot of growth in the area of providing students opportunities to go on international trips through a couple of different organizations in the last couple of years. We really have a strong culture and foundation based around community service at this school. And then last, just a little note about some of the things that are important at our grade levels in terms of some of our traditions that are really firm in our school culture. And I also don't want to be remiss in not mentioning anything about how strong some of our curriculum areas our areas are around visual and performing arts, and also in our engineering and robotics fields. And sometimes I forget about them because they're so valuable and they're so rigorous that they're actually credited courses. And many years ago, we switched it. Even though these things happen beyond the traditional school day, kids are doing so much work to prepare for a performance, to prepare for a theatrical show, or to do something involved in engineering and robotics, that these are actually classes that they take in the evening and are not extracurricular per se. They are courses. So in just a couple minutes, I'll highlight some of the things. On our website, there's a list of clubs and activities. There's over 35 different clubs that a number of students take advantage of. Just to give you a small sample of how diverse some of them are, we have a Best Buddies program. The Environmental Club is very popular, Yearbook, Girls Forward, Technology Club, Ultimate Frisbee, Poetry, and the Gay Straight Alliance. And so there's about 25 to 30 more. And if there's something that you're interested in, and there's nothing on that list, just within the last couple of months, I've had 2 students put together new clubs. One boy who was a senior created a financial club and got a faculty member to kind of support that interest. And another student who was actually a freshman is starting a rocket building and launching club. And he got support through a teacher here and a teacher at the middle school. So if there's something that you like and it's not kind of offered, you just need basically a staff member that would supervise your group meetings. So it's really a cool way to just get together with friends. But things can be as simple as a board game club or as complex as a rocket building club. International trips. Just in the last couple of years, off the top of my head, I was thinking earlier, we had either planned to do a trip that got shut down because of COVID, but we'd also pulled off many trips just recently. We had about 2 years ago a trip to Germany, 3 years ago a trip to China. There was a planned trip to Greece and Italy, a trip to the Galapagos Islands, and to Costa Rica. In our German program at the high school, we have 2 world languages. There's Spanish and German. The German program has a sister school in the Black Forest. And so students there do an exchange program with our students here. So about 20 of our students and 20 of their students kind of switch out. So in October, usually around Halloween, we host about 20 students from Germany, and they stay in our Newburyport households for about a week and a half. And then usually around June, those same students would swap and they go and they experience school in that other country. In terms of a culture of service, which I had mentioned, 2 of the biggest clubs are the Interact Club and the Leo's Club. And the Interact Club has partnered with the Newburyport Rotary to kind of just broaden some of their service throughout the community. And also, again, in that theme of taking on your own initiative, if there's something that you don't find. We had a student at the end of last year, throughout the summer, based around service, started an organization or a nonprofit called Gr8. And he did a big community drive about repurposing sports equipment for less fortunate people that might not have it. And that continues even still now. And that was all led by a student. Some of our traditions that are super popular and go up through the grade level. In 9th grade, sometimes at the end of each year, depending on what your class officers and your class advisors decide upon, there'll be like a day trip or a class trip. Sometimes it's relatively simple, like a June day trip to Canopy Lake Park. But as you get older and go from 9th to 10th, there start to be more opportunities and more things like that. So in 10th grade, there's a sophomore semi-formal that happens in Newburyport, not in the high school. And it's 10th graders only. And in 11th grade, there's a junior prom. And then in senior year, we have a senior week, probably unlike most other schools in terms of how much goes on. There's usually about 5 weeks, it feels like 5 weeks for us, supervising and chaperoning late at night. But there's about 5 days of events and activities that lead up to your commencement when you graduate that Sunday, usually in early June. And those events are things like maybe going to a Red Sox game, doing a whitewater rafting trip. There's a banquet where it's like dinner, dancing, and you get your yearbook. Prom is either the week just before senior week or during senior week. There's been other day trips like bowling, laser tag, amusement parks. So it all depends on what your class officers and your class advisor decide upon. But senior week is really something that was a great loss to the graduates last year because of COVID. And so our current seniors will have to think about what we can do to make things special for them. A huge thing that's part of the school culture that we were not able to do this fall, that we're hopeful we will do when you guys are in this building as freshmen, is Color Day. And Color Day is a big pep rally right before Thanksgiving, where all 4 grades cram in on top of each other into our auditorium, and they compete in different events and they get judged. And the winning team gets the jug, which is actually like a very old-fashioned antique ceramic jug, and they get to paint their graduating year on it. That's like the trophy that they kind of pride themselves in winning. And the other thing that Mr. Wolf was big on bringing in a couple of years ago was more ongoing rallies, but rallies focus on building a culture of recognition. So recognition of teachers and recognition mostly of students for their successes, mostly in school, but also sometimes you guys do a lot of really cool stuff that happens outside of school that we find out about, and then we might recognize it. So we would get together like once every quarter, so every couple of months, and kind of give shout outs to students and give certificates for things that they have accomplished. And then lastly, I did talk earlier about how we have a very like robust visual performing arts department, and they sometimes, you're not sure if it's extracurricular or not, but there's a very big theater program here, including musical theater. And there's usually a big production in the fall and one in the spring. And Miss Williams and Miss Oleski are the 2 teachers that lead those. In terms of music, we have both more traditional music and then also musical theater. So we have band, orchestra, strings, music technology, and then chorus, theater, and musical theater. Sometimes those elective offerings do change year to year. And within the realm of theater, there's also things that are more hands-on. If you're not someone that wants to be on stage, there's the opportunity to do work with like set design and stage production as well. So there's a lot to do. To sum up my last 5 or 6 minutes of rambling at you, it's really important to us that you find something beyond just taking classes. I mean, the number one thing we do as a school is there's teaching and learning, but we understand that it's a full day experience, and a full day for a lot of kids is like 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. sometimes in this building. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited about beyond just the coursework here. And it also just creates an exciting opportunity to make new connections and make new friends and investigate areas that you might be interested in. So I really encourage all new students, especially, to dabble in, be bold, try something out. If it's something that you're very familiar with, that might be a safe landing point to, you know, a club or an activity that is in your wheelhouse. But the older students here have been very welcoming to the incoming freshmen in making those connections through an athletic team, or whether it's through a class where there's mixed grades, but in particular through these clubs and activities is really a nice way to get you kind of connected and settled into being a new student at the high school. So we strongly encourage that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Testa. Okay, and with the athletics, we already went over that. And then just to give some information on how to enroll, Miss Blackstock, who is muted.
Oh, I'm so much better in an auditorium. Anyway, so I don't know how many times I've said you're muted or I'm muted this year, but probably way too many. So I want to just touch on the choice. So if you live in Newburyport and you go to a private school, whether it's River Valley, IC, or another one, you obviously can enroll and attend the public high school because you live here. If you go to those schools and you don't live in Newburyport, the school committee in February votes on whether or not they're going to accept students through the choice program in Massachusetts, meaning all of the principals, we sort of meet ahead of time and say, okay, we have a small class coming up from NOC, or they may have, you know, less kindergarten kids than they thought they were going to have. So you sort of choose by grade level. Like we can take, you know, X amount of maybe 10 freshmen via choice. And then the application for choice goes through the superintendent's office. So that decision is made in February, and that's okay. That gives you plenty of time. So I want to just talk a little bit about how we've done it in the past, and I hope that I'm going to be able to go to the schools, to River Valley and IC like I usually do. I usually head down with some packets, which is the registration material that parents need to fill out, or guardians for their students. In addition, in that packet, I have the recommendation forms for the current 8th grade students to recommend each student applying to Newburyport High School for the level of course that they think is appropriate for the student. So for example, at the River Valley Charter School, maybe I'll have a student who gets recommended for honors, lit and history, but college prep, math and science. And then you pick your world language. So I give those packets and the teacher rec packets to usually Kelly or Colin. And then the 8th graders get to choose 4 electives that they're interested in. So the students complete that elective choice form. Once everything is together, it comes back to Newburyport High School, and then that will sort of give us the green light to ghost you into the system, as we call it, because you're not yet a student, but we can ghost you in, and we can enter in all your course recommendations and your choices for electives. If for some reason you don't agree with the recommendations by the teachers, and you think your child needs to be in a different level or a different course, like for example, math, some freshmen go into geometry, some go into algebra. So if you do have a reason to want to override that recommendation, there is a process to do that. In those packets of everything are usually due in sometime in end of February or March. It's really going to depend this year on, I mean, I may go all electronic, I'm not sure. Depends on where COVID is at that point. So the important things to remember is I cannot ghost you into the system without the new student enrollment packet filled out and complete. Because I can't do it just based on course recommendations from a teacher, because I need a lot more information. So when there's a link here, you can click on that. You can fill that out at any time, and we'll take it. We'll just start a folder for you, and then we'll add the recommendations to it. So that's sort of the process if you're coming from a private school, is you fill out the enrollment thing, you get your teacher recommendations, and you get to choose which electives that you want. If I don't get to go in person, I will do a meeting like this, because I can walk everybody through the process. And we usually, it's called our program of studies night, which usually happens in February. So if it has to be this way, it has to be this way, but there'll be another one of those nights. But feel free to start working on that packet anytime. Good?
Okay.
Yay.
So I think that is, so this is the Color Day rally that Mike was alluding to. So definitely the students bring a lot of spirit on those days. But this is our last slide and culminates our presentation for tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and now we can open it up for any questions that you may have.
Yeah, so I suppose you could either type a question into the chat and we'll see that, or if you unmute yourself, it's a small enough group that you could probably just ask it.
Let's see.
Come on.
I have a question.
All right.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So you may have talked about this. I was cooking dinner as you were speaking. Senior internships. Did you mention, do they do senior internships, and what does that consist of? How does that
Trish,
work?
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so right now, every student is different. So if a student gets to their senior year, like right now, I have seniors who are only coming into the building for or taking courses at Newburyport for 2 of the 7 blocks. And then they're at Northern Essex for 2, and then they're also doing internships. So we don't require it, but we encourage it. we want all students to get involved in that, and we can work a schedule, massage it so that it works with whatever internship that student has. We may, by the time these 8th graders are seniors, we may have a more, like a, not, it wouldn't be a forced, you know, a requirement, but we would definitely have more opportunities as we are continuing to grow our connections with folks in the community. We have a lot of right now internships in the environmental field. We utilize a lot of the Chamber of Commerce folks. Kids find their own internships a lot. We currently have a student who's working at an auto body shop because he's just very interested in that. So he found his own internship, and, you know, we approved it, and that's what he's doing, and you get credit for that. So it's a pretty cool program, and it's going to grow over the next couple of years. The woman who's doing it now is retiring, so we'll be looking for a new internship coordinator. So hopefully we're going to just continue to improve on the numbers of internships we have and the types of internships. So while it's not a requirement, it's encouraged.
Can I just ask one more clarifying question? So is it for students that need it, like, to fill in their credits, or is it, I'm just trying to, so I'm actually a teacher at Beverly High School. Sean was my principal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
But
we
so-
found a survivor.
Wow.
So we have an internship. I'm just trying to figure out how we have an internship program that Dan Bauer started, but so I'm wondering how it's similar. Like, our thing is every senior does it. So is yours that when students that need credits choose to do an internship, or how does it?
Yeah, we're not there yet in terms of, like, so for example, at Beverly High, where they take the
Yeah.
last 6 weeks of the year and everybody
Yeah,
does
yeah.
a project. So where ours is really about, so we've done a lot of work over the past few years to build partnerships with different organizations, businesses in the greater Newburyport area.
Yeah.
Because a big piece of it is trying to help students with the networking. And so that
Right.
students, when they get into their senior year or even juniors, so the idea that they are getting out there and they're experiencing an area of interest and trying it out. And so that can be for a full semester for some, for others, it can be their full senior year. And we try to schedule where they are usually scheduled their internships towards the end of the day, so they can actually leave the building. So they would have a majority of their classes in the morning, and then they would be out to really get that experience.
Mhm.
We might be, at some point we may move to that kind of 6-week thing that some schools do. But right now we're really at where a student can really be entrenched in the place of employment to really get that full overall experience. Another area that we're exploring is more of the portfolio of skills. So we spoke about earlier in the presentation with our school vision, the emphasis really is on skill development. And so where a student would put together a portfolio by the time they graduate of different activities, projects that they have taken on representative of the skills aligned with our vision.
Right.
Okay, I think there was something in the chat here. The new student enrollment form in PDF only or an online form?
Well, I thought, it used to be just an online form that you'd have to print and fill out. But the district just redid it. I sent you that today, Andy, that Angela sent a new one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he got the 28-page PDF. That's it.
Okay.
It's on our website. Well, I don't know if the new one is
Yeah,
yet.
so it looks like that's what he found was the 28-page enrollment form.
Some of it is just instructions. So yes.
So then
Chris.
the question is, do you print it out and send it back? How would you like them collected, Trish?
Yeah. So if you print it out, fill it out, and put all your supporting materials with it, and you just put it in an envelope and leave it. At the high school, we have a drop box, or you can come in and leave it at a table and just put my name on the envelope. Or just write new enrollment packet. They'll know where it goes. You can fax it, yep, 978-465-2822 is the guidance fax.
Can you say
And
that
you can-
again, Trish? I'll type it in.
Yep, 978-465-2822. And then it can always be emailed to me. And you guys have my email because I sent you all the info about this.
I have a question. Is,
Yes,
can you, so it sounds like what you'd recommend for new students is like just getting involved in something, you know, like choosing a club, a sport or something, but I didn't know if you could speak to some of the ways you help transition to, you know, a bigger school in this case, or I guess what I'd like to know, like how could we help our student transition well to high school? And also, you know, like when we have questions as parents, who do we contact?
Sure. So just and we'll most likely all of us will jump in on this one. So we actually have emphasized a lot of work around supporting the transition to high school for all incoming students. And so we have typically every year about 70, 80 students who are trained over the summer as student ambassadors. And we do a grade 9, we have a grade 9 parent night. We do coffees during the summer where parents and their students can sign up, and it's with the administrative team. We'll have students there just so you can get a feel for the building, ask questions with not a lot of people. Usually for those coffees, we run 5 of them, usually at each one, 15 to 20 people will come. And so that's always a nice way to, because part of the transition is not just for the students, part of the transition is also for the parents as well. You know, coming into high school for the first time. So we definitely recognize that. And then the students with their student orientation, we have them organized into groups with their ambassadors. And those ambassadors really can be a resource for the students for the school year, where we do some work where the ambassadors would go into their actually advisory room early in the school year to kind of say, hey, how things going? What can we help with? We've even done things at lunch where ambassadors are available, because lunch can be a scary thing for a 9th grader, especially within the first week and a half of school. So really trying to ease all students into their new experience at the school with their new home, which is what we try to get them to recognize. So there is a lot of work that goes into the grade 9 transition, but then also thinking of the parents. We also do a grade 9 family orientation that happens typically the week before the freshman orientation, where parents will come with their students. We have the administrative team. We also have current parents that are a part of it as well, so that parents can ask questions to parents who have been experiencing high school. And Tricia, I don't know if you want to add any more.
Yeah, I do. So we do the trained ambassador thing, and then kids are broken into small groups. We try not to keep friends together because we want students to meet other 9th graders and not just, you know, hang with that same group that they might have known from 8th grade. The other thing is, you asked who you should contact. You should always start with your GPS. You should always start with your guidance counselor. If you as a parent have some questions, or you feel like your kid might be struggling, or you know, whatever it is, you just want some support, definitely start with your child's guidance counselor, because they can, if they don't know the answer, they can direct you in the right direct you the right way to get the answer that you need. As far as making Newburyport High School less big, I think our freshman teachers, Emily, to be honest with you, are so good at working with freshmen, because many of them only work with freshmen. That is what they've chosen to do. So they do a really nice job of, you know, making sure that kids feel comfortable in the class and safe, and kids get used to it really fast. They're a resilient group, you know. they end up really liking it. There's hardly any rules. It's very different than what they're used to. So, and I think that your sending schools, IC and River Valley, do a nice job of prepping the kids before they come up here for what they can expect. Like I'll bring, when I go to River Valley or IC, I bring former students with me so that they can talk to those students and say, this has been my experience. This is what, you know, what was different. This is what you need to figure out before you get up there, whatever it happens to be. So we really do try to have as many people sort of talk to them beforehand and make the transition smooth as we can.
And then the
Another
other part
step-
of what we have is we've, over the past couple of years, we started an advisory program. We call it our Clipper Block.
Mm-hmm.
And so all students are, so it's about 12 to 14 students per teacher. And that teacher who functions as the advisor for those students stays with the students all 4 years. And they really, the teacher advisor really serves as a conduit. So if there is something that a student is having a difficult time navigating, the advisor teacher helps them to navigate it. And sometimes we'll reach out to the administrator for the student and try to help bridge it. Because part of, you know, high school is getting, coaching students along at just kind of navigating life. And kind of, we have this microcosm of life here at the high school, and sometimes it can get tricky, but it's really about making sure that every student is connected with an adult that knows them very well. So as they get stuck, can help them problem solve around that. So they can learn really those, you know, just how to navigate sometimes difficult situations or things that seem a little tricky. Mike, it looked like you were going to jump in.
That was exactly what I was
I
going to say, is
stole it
talk
from
about
you.
the advisory. You were too quick. I was muted, so you stole my thunder.
All right, and then we do have a question in there about,
I got it.
oh, you already answered it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the number of kids that are typically in a class, I mean, it really does range, but
I
on
answered that
average, I
one
would
too.
say we're in the low 20s.
I did 18 to 24.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, 24 is not common, but it can happen. Depends on the class. You know, elective classes are definitely smaller.
Okay, any
You're
other
welcome.
questions?
You guys can all email me also if you have, when you leave here, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. From my
Okay,
ocean
well,
view.
thank you, everybody, for participating tonight. And Tricia will be forwarding the presentation to your respective schools, so you can go through it, then obviously click on the links that are a part of it. And yes, the enrollment packet is available online. That's correct, Tricia, right?
Correct.
Yes. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.